Well, that didn't exactly go as planned, did it? Well, this was listen, I even thought about making a joke where I was going to pretend like for the first 30 seconds I thought Wilson played good, and then, reveal that no, actually that's not how I think because I have a brain. We all know Wilson played horrible, right? There's not even a debate about it. I do want to talk about sort of what exactly went wrong. This is why I wanted to wait until the All-22 footage came out. It's just really difficult to tell exactly what went right or wrong when you watch the broadcast footage, even though you can usually tell, like, okay, that wasn't good or that was good. But, like, there definitely were just some completely wrong things that I keep hearing people say in the media. So that's why it's good to have the All-22, and I can really dissect it and kind of explain what the issue was. So, like, for the first thing, this wasn't really a great game plan from Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick obviously has a reputation for being a quarterback killer. We all, I even I put Bill Belichick as the thumbnail for the podcast week one because I kind of just assumed that that's what would have happened. And again, we'll get into the film in just a second. But that's definitely something I thought. This wasn't really like some super creative game plan. Like the Justin Herbert game last year, that was like Justin Herbert clearly never experiencing a Bill Belichick-like game plan and struggling with it. For Zach Wilson, this was pretty much just man coverage for most of the game, and receivers weren't getting open, and he was having trouble adjusting to that. That's what I felt like. It's similar to my criticisms I've had about Darnold over the years, where it's like, sure, okay, nothing is open there, but also, like, you deserve some blame for this play for making the wrong thing. So that's something we will go over in this video. I thought there was some bad play calling by the offense. The offense, kind of, everyone's getting bailed out because Zach Wilson kept throwing interceptions, but there's more issues besides just Zach Wilson having a bad game. I also heard some people saying Zach Wilson is seeing ghosts. I think some people were saying it sort of jokingly as kind of just like a meme, which I think is totally fine. Like, that's funny. But the people that like legitimately think that way, that's not what happened. Seeing ghosts usually means because of, usually a creative play calling by the defense. You kind of think players are there when they actually aren't. That's what happened to Sam Darnold when he, famously or infamously, depending on what side you're on, said that on that, primetime game. That's certainly not what was happening with Wilson. He wasn't seeing ghosts at all. He was seeing the field. That wasn't the issue whatsoever. And finally, the whole, Robert Saleh himself said, hey, boring is good sometimes. Be more boring. People keep saying take some checkdowns. I don't really fully agree with this. I do a little. So let's start off with the 4 interceptions. That will be the beginning part of this video, talking about the 4 interceptions, what went wrong, how many of them were his fault, how many of them weren't his fault, that kind of thing. And then we'll get into, some of the other stuff. So we'll sort of talk about just the game as a whole. All right, so here's the first one. We're just going to go in chronological order. Sometimes I like to mix things around to build a narrative. Not doing it this time. This is just going to be a methodical going through. And this first interception is how most of these interceptions were. So it's going to be man coverage. This is the one-on-one matchup. And so, it's a one-on-one matchup. You can kind of understand the logic there. And this is a route that's pretty good against man coverage. So all of that stuff, I don't really hate necessarily. Especially when this is Corey Davis, their best receiver. So, a lot of guys have success when they throw to their best receiver in a one-on-one matchup in this scenario. The difference is just that, this is not a number 1 receiver that is DeAndre Hopkins. It's a number 1 receiver that is Corey Davis going up against J.C. Jackson. So that's a mismatch for the Jets in a negative way. You want to have, a mismatch in a positive way. Obviously, the issue is that the Jets just didn't have that this game. So again, a lot of what we're going to talk about is, while this was the wrong decision, there also wasn't necessarily a ton of right decisions. Look, so right when this play starts, Wilson fakes a handoff, and you see why he wants to make this throw. This is exactly the kind of, okay, this is a mistake you have to make. You have to make these in the NFL. This is why you have your rookie quarterback play, because they're going to learn that in this situation in college, it usually works out, and it's usually a catch. In the NFL, it usually doesn't work out, especially when you're trying J.C. Jackson. This is why we've seen quarterbacks over the years avoid guys like Darrelle Revis and Richard Sherman. And while I'm not putting J.C. Jackson in that category just yet, he's still a really good corner, a clear, true number 1 corner who, even without Gilmore, has had no problem in that role. It's a throw that Wilson should not have made. He should have just thrown this ball away, probably. Instead, he takes this chance. Jackson knocks it up. He could have intercepted it cleanly. It still does get intercepted. So that's how that play went down. He took a chance that he needs to learn not to take. This is something that is definitely the definition of a rookie mistake, in my opinion. So again, one thing we might talk about during this video is, let's talk about bad versus concerning. Like, for example, Joe Burrow in his game against the Bears, he was bad in that game, but he wasn't concerning. We know Joe Burrow is good because we've seen it before. Whereas with Wilson, it's only his second game. We haven't seen the positives, so we kind of have to do a little bit more digging. But to me, this is clearly in the bad category, but not in the concerning category. So then let's talk about the second one. So this was another play where this is actually zone coverage. The Patriots did sprinkle in some zone. Wilson played better against zone than he did against man. He was awful against man, so that's a part of it. But what's going to happen on this play is he's going to roll out to the top of the screen. You have a couple receivers in that area who could potentially get open. These kind of concepts can work, and especially against this type of coverage. And so right when this play starts, it's not going to get wide open by any means, but Corey Davis is a little bit open. There's a window. Now, this is a tough throw. Wilson is on the run. There's a linebacker underneath, so he's going to have to throw it above the linebacker, and obviously with the zone coverage, it's risky. If you underthrow it or overthrow it, it could end up in an interception. So this is a dangerous throw. But to me, this is the one interception I'm going to say is not Wilson's fault. The other three, I think, are, and we'll explain in a second, even though I think some people would only have two of them being his fault. To me, all three are, or all three of the other ones are. To me, this is a fine throw on this one. Like, look, the ball hits Corey Davis in the hands. It didn't appear to be too hard. People were saying it was a bit high. Well, it had to be high. There was a player underneath. He had to throw it over him. Like, Wilson hit his spot on that one. It just bounced up and ended up being intercepted. And he was even asked after the game. I listened to a lot of press conferences after the game, and he was asked, like, how many of them did you think were bad decisions? And he said, some of the decisions I didn't have a problem with. And I think this is one of them. It was a fine decision. It just didn't work out. Sometimes that does happen. And like, this one is another good one. This is very similar to that first play of, it's a rookie mistake, I think. And some people are going to say I'm making excuses for Zach Wilson. I'm not, though, because I'm criticizing him pretty harshly. I just don't think that he's a bust after 2 games because I'm not a moron and I've watched football before. I mean, I'm sorry. If you have a brain, you know Wilson played poorly, and you also know it's game 2, and it's way too early to write him off. On this play, this is a weird situation where, kind of like that last one, the pre-snap read is the right one. Like, this is a good place to throw this ball to. It really is. With the man coverage on a cover 1 play, you want to throw it towards the outside right here. And honestly, right when this play starts, I mean, you look right here, and it's kind of like, I see why he makes this throw. I mean, one of the real issues with this throw and why this is a tough one is just that he's at the hash marks on the top of the screen, and the throw is going all the way towards the sideline on the other side of the field. So, it's almost as far towards the sideline as it is further down the field. In fact, it might be further towards the sideline than it is further down the field. So that's kind of where not only is it a longer throw, but it's just a bad angle. Now, I think one of the reasons why these plays typically work is, as a cornerback, you're kind of like, okay, I'm getting a little bit beat right here, so I need to, turn my back and just keep running and run as fast as I can to get to that spot so I don't get burned too deep. But this New England corner is going to do a great job on this play. This is also J.C. Jackson again. This is probably the clear mistake for Zach Wilson, is just stop trying J.C. Jackson. You have to realize there's some corners in the NFL you don't throw to, whereas in college you throw to any corner. You just trust your guy. Because, I mean, like, look, so this is just going to get intercepted because J.C. Jackson's really good at that kind of stuff. So, I mean, yeah, that's what happened right there. Not the best decision from Zach Wilson. Again, this does feel like a rookie mistake to me. I'm sorry, it does. This was not Zach Wilson's best decision, but again, when we talk about bad versus concerning, to me this is bad but not concerning once again. And to the people saying I'm being too easy on him, just keep watching this video, because the worst part about it, his game was actually not the interceptions, it was some other stuff in my opinion. Alright, now let's talk about the last interception. This is the one that he really got crushed for. It's also the one that some people are going to say wasn't his fault because, there was a miscommunication. And Robert Saleh, after the game, said that this was the wide receiver who screwed up the route. So that happened, and that's why this looks so ugly and why it looks like Wilson threw it directly to a New England defender. It's because of the miscommunication. Once this play starts, though, here's something that I'm a little bit confused about. Is I'm not sure exactly what Wilson thought was happening. I'm not sure if he thought a receiver was just going to cut a little bit later, because there is a safety who's pulled over further underneath. So it kind of looks like you can sort of see what maybe could be open, but I just don't fully understand what Wilson is doing here. I mean, as you see, he's going to just throw it directly to a safety right there. So it's one of those weird things where it was a miscommunication. It was also just a stupid pass to make, even without the miscommunication. Regardless of what routes the receivers were running, like, that's a dumb play. Now, it looks way worse on the broadcast footage because you see that it's you think when you're watching that what he just missed the guy by a mile. Typically, when you see an interception and you think, what happened there? He threw it to nobody. Usually, that's going to be a receiver running a wrong route than a quarterback actually making a bad decision. Although in this case, I do believe it was both. A lot of people have talked about with Zach Wilson that they believe that Zach Wilson, he was being too aggressive and he needs to take more checkdowns. That's something I heard a lot. Well, my argument to that is, okay, check the ball down where? So first we have this one. I'm going to just freeze frame it right before he threw the ball. Again, you already saw these plays, so you know that I'm not, clipping something out of context. On this one, maybe he could throw it a little bit further underneath, but there's literally contact being made. So literally on this play, there's contact being made onto 3 receivers who are downfield, and the 2 other eligible receivers are blocking. So again, I'm circling every eligible receiver on these plays. There's not a check down available on this one. We then have this one where on this play, you can kind of say, okay, there were checkdowns available on this one. This was the one where there actually were really one checkdown available, but also this was the play where he hit Corey Davis on the hands. This is the one play that I said wasn't Wilson's fault, so I'm not really mad at him for not taking the check down. I'm mad at Corey Davis for not catching the pass. Again, on this one, this was the 3rd interception where literally on this play, he threw it to the one guy who was just not having contact being made on him. I mean, look at how just nothing is open right here. I mean, this is just insanity. This is incredible coverage by New England, and it also kind of goes to show the Jets weren't getting guys open. And finally on this one, again, 2 of these New York players who are eligible receivers are blocking. The check down on this play would have been a pick 6 if he threw it there, so good job not doing that. And so the only other 2 guys are deep down the field. This kind of reminds me a little bit of something that Brett Favre said on the Manning cast, during the Lions-Packers Monday Night Football game. He kind of said that on 3rd down and 20, he kept taking chances and would always throw interceptions because there would be a deep route and he would always throw to that. And then when the coaches got mad at him for always throwing it, he kind of said, well, then don't call it. I thought it was hilarious when a reporter asked Zach Wilson after the game, do you think you should have taken more checkdowns? And he laughed at it and said, check down where? It's man coverage, which, of course, that's just the wrong answer to say because people don't understand what that means. People aren't going to realize that in man coverage, a check down isn't safer than a route down the field. In fact, oftentimes down the field routes can be even the better opportunity in man coverage. And again, I don't blame the reporter. He's asking a question that a narrative is there, but it just kind of goes to show once a narrative gets out there, the truth does not matter. That is a little bit how I feel. If you're mad at Zach Wilson for taking these chances, well, what did you want him to do then? And I mean, to be clear, there is a right answer. The right answer is throw the ball away. Just all 4 of these, he should have thrown the ball away. But you can kind of see how we're honestly his 10 worst plays, the correct thing he should have done was throw the ball into the dirt, and not literally into the dirt because that would be grounding, but throw the ball away. Well, you can see how a young quarterback is going to make some mistakes there. It's the reason I'm pushing back on this is there's this narrative that the Jets offense actually played pretty well, and it was just Zach Wilson screwing things up. That's just not true. I've watched this tape. It was both. It was the Jets offense put him in a position to fail, and he failed even worse than he was in position to. I think that's a much more accurate read of that. And again, I thought the real issues came with Zach Wilson later on in the game when people keep saying he was too aggressive. I thought he was too cautious a lot of times. I thought that he looked rattled and he wasn't taking chances that he should have taken. So there were a couple of plays that weren't interceptions that to me, if you're looking to be concerned about Zach Wilson, I mean, the guy has a ton of haters. I mean, oh my goodness, when that game happened, people were, I've never seen something like that. How many people were just crushing him, especially when it's like, was he clearly worse than Trevor Lawrence? Maybe, but I mean, it's not obvious to me. I think you could argue one or the other. I need to watch a little more Lawrence tape before I make an opinion for myself on that. But, you know, Lawrence is getting no criticism whatsoever, it seems. Like, he's a rookie, he'll be better. Wilson is just getting crushed. And, like, there are some legitimate things that I'm a little bit worried about. Is he learning sort of the wrong ideas? Like, for example, something like this is a perfect example of him playing scared, quite frankly. He started playing scared towards the end of the game. That's what I saw. And I'm only going to go after one example, but there were, like, probably like 4 or 5 of these that I thought... And, you know, at one point I had 16 plays I was going to break down. I said, okay, I gotta cut this down a little bit because, you know, I only have so much time in my life to make these film studies. And there's other people I want to make film studies on this week as well. But on this cover 2 zone play, it's a play that could potentially work. So Wilson is going to look there pretty early on. Like, watch, right when this play starts, you're going to find just that little gap in the cover 2. The Patriots, this is actually one of the rare times they didn't play great coverage. So for Wilson, if he makes this throw right now and he kind of bullets it in there, that's a big completion. And I just don't know why he makes this decision. Look, he just throws the ball away. He's playing scared. I imagine someone said, hey, stop taking chances. Instead, he goes to the sideline and does this, which I just think he's learning the wrong lessons a little bit. And this is kind of what I thought about Sam Darnold a little bit when he was with the Jets. I thought he learned some wrong lessons. It's something that can happen. And that's the concerning thing to me, is that when he had some of these mistakes, which is like, okay, hey, he's a kid going out there trying to be a bit aggressive. He can turn that back a little bit, or just windows will be bigger for him in the future and it won't matter as much. But I really hope to not see this too much. Just me personally, I want to see him still not be afraid to take chances when they're open. Just be a bit more smart about it. I think is the better way to phrase it. Like, this one's another example, in my opinion, where you have a couple of routes, one further deep and one a little bit shallower. And watch what happens. So Wilson takes the snap, runs a play action, and on this play, the play action worked well. I mean, you know, the New York Jets, their running game worked. Now, it didn't really set things up for the Jets too much in terms of the passing attack, just due to New England, for the most part, still played man. It set things up a little bit towards the end of the game, but really early on, when Wilson was having his struggles, the Patriots were just taking away the passing game. So the running game didn't really help Zach Wilson too much in that regard. But anyways, back to this play. I kind of think Wilson on this play should have taken the deeper shot, but again, he's playing a bit scared right now. That's just what I saw, and he's taking the check down, which again, part of me wonders if someone on the sideline who maybe hadn't watched the All-22 yet said, hey, Zach, take a check down here and there, but I think here, probably throw the ball down the field. Instead, he takes the check down, and again, it's like, okay, sometimes he has to make the safer play, but also sometimes you have to throw the ball down the field. Just make the right play, right? It's not about the safer play or the more dangerous play. It's about making the right play. And now let's go on to something like this. So on this play, it is going to be man coverage, and this is something that was earlier on, so now I am going to do a bit of, you know, bouncing back and forth chronologically after the interceptions part of this video. I cannot believe I only saw one of these in this game. It blows my mind. This is something I crushed Adam Gase for, and I mean, I should crush Mike LaFleur for this as well, because I want to see more than this. Like, you know, man coverage could be coming, and maybe they just didn't realize that man coverage was going to come, but that's its own problem. Run more pick plays, run more rub routes. Like, this is something you need to incorporate into your offense. I mean, look, right when this play starts, you're going to notice that it's wide open. I mean, look at that right there. And again, make things easier on your rookie quarterback, right? We only saw a couple of these, but it's no secret that the Patriots like to play a lot of man coverage when they can. Why not have more man coverage beaters? In fact, it's almost more insulting that they only ran one of these and it worked so well and then they stopped doing that. Like, to me, that's almost worse than if they just didn't do it at all. And like, look, Wilson is going to be able to make this throw. And I mean, it wasn't even a perfect throw. He probably should have had it a little bit closer towards the, you know, middle of the field, so the receiver could potentially run after the catch, but still a pretty good throw, and that's just making things easier on him. And if they did that more often, I think things would be easier. I want to talk a few positives. I did see a couple of splashes. It wasn't a lot. Again, we all know that the bad outweighed the good, but it's hard to play an entire football game without any good, and Zach Wilson did not do that. He had some good, I thought, and this is a good example. So it's going to be zone coverage, cover 3 zone. You have a receiver kind of running a further deep route and another receiver running a little bit underneath. This is also going to be a play action. Jets, a lot of play actions. So watch what happens on this play. So Wilson takes a snap, runs the play action, and at this point, nothing is really open. Maybe the deep route, but that's tough, right? I mean, that's a dangerous throw. He's doing the right thing here by not making this throw. The issue is he's under pressure. So in this spot, this is one of those, hey, just throw the ball away type plays. And, well, that's probably what he should have done. Him not doing that is a lot more exciting, and it's going to be better on this play. Watch him make a man just completely miss, runs over, and he's actually going to make a perfect throw to hit a receiver on the sideline who just drops the ball. I mean, that's a highlight reel level play, and probably makes you say, like, okay, well, at least you got one splash play going. But unfortunately, it was good defense, good comeback defense on that. So it's hard to completely blame the receiver. But again, it's like, okay, most teams have a receiver who can make that catch consistently. The Jets haven't had that in how many years? That is a factor, and that is an aspect here. Like, something like this is good. Again, the smaller stuff, when things were working, he looked fine. And I guess that's maybe one of the things that you can take away as a positive if you're a Jets fan or a Zach Wilson fan, is it's like, listen, it's not like guys were getting open and he was just missing them. It's that he was struggling to make stuff happen when there was nothing there, which is the same thing Darnold had. And, again, I wasn't a huge fan of Darnold by the time that stuff ended with the Jets, but I also kind of always acknowledged that he was in a tough situation, and also he is at least playing competent with the Panthers through 2 games, so that kind of gives you some hope of, hey, put Wilson in a better situation, good things will follow. But like on this play, it's very simple. It's a cover 3 zone. When the Patriots played zone, Wilson looked, for the most part, fine. I mean, there was, it wasn't perfect necessarily, but clearly most of Wilson's issues were against man coverage. He did have, 2 of his interceptions against zone, but that was the miscommunication, which was dumb, and the one off Corey Davis's hands. But watch how right when this play starts. So it works well against this, type of coverage, since the corner has to play a little bit further deep. There is a little window right here. Nothing crazy, but Wilson's going to, again, he is on the hash marks on the top of the screen. It's a throw towards the bottom of the screen, so it is a bit far down the field. But Wilson pushes the ball down the field with ease, and he had a couple of those. And again, kind of reminds you of in preseason, part of why he looked so comfortable was when there were windows open, it looked easy for him. There really wasn't any windows open for him in this game. There wasn't. And also, again, I don't want to downplay it. He did make mistakes on his own, of course. And something like this was incredible. So this is the last positive, because again, I know people aren't here to hear me talk about the positives of Zach Wilson, but I'm going to talk about, listen, when I talk about a player's good game, I typically bring up the negatives as well. When I talk about a player's bad game, I want to talk about the positives as well. Let's talk about all of it. It's a cover 2 zone. You have a receiver running a route that's going to get into that gap in coverage right there. And just watch this throw from Wilson. The watch. I mean, I would say he probably puts a bit too much air under it, but other than that, it's just a perfectly accurate throw, exactly where he wanted it to be, and they get the big completion right there. So again, there were some flashes. Was it a ton of flashes? No, it wasn't, obviously. Did the bad outweigh the good? Sure. But the reality is, we're not expecting Zach Wilson to lead the Jets to a Super Bowl. We're hoping that Zach Wilson can become a good quarterback for the Jets. So if we're talking about his development, I'm not going to freak out yet because of this one game. I think it's silly to do so. So yeah, it's kind of one of those weird situations where I do think most people came to the right conclusion about that Zach Wilson did play horribly, but I also think that not exactly for the right reasons. I think people are bringing up the 4 picks, but I think there was other aspects that were kind of worse, and the picks weren't quite as bad as people are making it out to be, although still, 4 interceptions. That's not a great day, no matter how you look at it. Even if one of those wasn't his fault, 3 interceptions isn't a good day either. So again, it's tough for Wilson. He plays the Broncos next week. Real murderer's row for him. Kind of sucks from that regard, But again, it could make him better. It also could destroy his confidence, but I think it'll probably make him better. From listening to the the press conference after, he seems fine. He was clearly disappointed and feels like he has to do better, but he also wasn't like devastated and convinced that he sucks now, which I think is good. Because again, it's one game. I thought he played fine in the first game too. I thought, struggled a little bit, but also showed some flashes. This one, he just didn't get the opportunity to show the flashes, and actually even did a little bit. And the nice thing for Wilson as well is, well, yes, there's the Broncos next week. You then get the Titans and the Falcons. And I guess that's what I'll say is, listen, if he plays bad against the Broncos next week, I'm still not going to crush him. I think it's very possible that he does that just because it's a good defense. I think if he plays bad against the Titans and then plays bad against the Falcons, now I'm concerned. That's I think, how I would say this. But as of right now, not really that concerned. It's more of I think that he had a bad game. That's how I feel. So let me know in the comments below. I don't have to ask. You guys are going to have opinions on this, but it's fun. It's interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.